What causes gallstones pain? I mean, that's an important question. Everybody wants to avoid pain, right? I mean, that's the obvious question. So what causes the pain? Because it's not necessarily the gallstones themselves. There are a lot of people out there with what's called asymptomatic gallstones, which means zero pain, zero sensations, nothing is there except echoes on the ultrasound. Okay? The pain from gallstones is actually very straightforward. There's two possibilities. One is that whatever's going on inside the gallbladder is uncomfortable enough to the body that it causes the gallbladder to inflame. It's the balance between the acids, the liquids, and the cholesterol and all the other stuff that forms the bile inside the gallbladder very often. And sometimes it's just because the gallbladder keeps squeezing hard on stones that are already in there that may not be as hard as kidney stones, but can still be quite a nuisance for the gallbladder when it squeezes very, very often, very strongly onto those stones. The second reason for gallstone pain, which is usually the stronger reason, the one that causes more pain, and very often days of pain, is when the gallstones fly out of the gallbladder or liver and get stuck in the ducts. When they get stuck in the ducts, then despite the fact that it's not a very long way to go between the moment they get stuck and the moment they release, that can take a while. And every time the peristalsis, the wave of the muscle going through that duct, goes over the stone that's stuck, it compresses it and actually hurts more every time. Okay, so these are the two things. What can we do to prevent the pain is actually quite simple. If we eat a bit more wisely, okay, food that's less likely to cause the imbalance within the bile, the kind of more acidic bile, more muddy bile to form. If we drink enough so that the bile is more diluted, if we make sure to eat food that doesn't cause very strong cramping and squeezing of the gallbladder and the liver, these can affect the potentials of pain greatly. If you can really stick to our 5 rules of oil, and you can find them in one of my other videos here on the channel, these rules make it very simple to avoid the very reasons why the pain can be caused in the first place. And most people who stick to this kind of nutrition simply discover that there's no more pain. Except when they, of course, lose the weight and, eat something that's totally not on the diet. That can, of course, be a source of pain. But if you know what to do and you stick to it, and there's no more pain, then most often you will stick to it. For fear of pain, at least, if not for the wisdom of it. So, good habits equals no gallstone pain. It's actually that simple. Of course, there is one catch. And this catch is important. At least 50% of people who come to me with gallstones suffer not for their gallstones, but for something else. And it can be confusing at times. I mean, the doctor told me this was the gallstones. Yeah, but why does it hurt in your backside, between your shoulder blades? That's a patient from a few days ago. Okay? If that's where the pain starts and then it migrates down towards the abdomen, check your back. Understand the pain and then treat it. The likelihood that this is caused by gallstones, not very high. Okay? And sometimes people come with lower right or lower left abdomen pain, not the right area. And sometimes the pain doesn't come in any way correlating with gallstone issues, like not after a fatty meal, etc. So if you have pain, you do the 5 oil rule strictly, and you still continue suffering pain, that usually means something else is amiss. Of course, it could be an emotional trigger, it could be other things. It's a little more complicated than I put it here, but I put the main issues here for this short video. Nevertheless, if you still have pain, despite the fact that you're doing great on your nutrition, then it's very likely that your pain is from something else, and you might want to look for a better diagnosis. Okay, because what's the point of dealing with your gallstones and the pain continuing? I mean, there are people who have that, you know, they go through surgery, they lose their gallbladder, and the pain continues like nothing happened. Sometimes it's because of the liver stones, but very often it's simply because the pain was never from the gallstones. Remember, 70%, last time I checked, 70% of people with gallstones have asymptomatic gallstones, gallstones who do not give out symptoms. So why would your case, if you've done all the necessary changes, not be another one of those? It doesn't really have to come together, having gallstones and having gallstones pain. It's not really mutually inclusive. Just food for thought. If you're not sure, you're more than welcome to join us in our community where we'll talk about it and see what else it can be. And maybe we can help you find the real source of pain so that you could heal it. I think that's the most important thing, right? So just check the link below and I would love to see you there.